since the market bottomed 3 weeks ago, the cloud computing stocks have come roaring back with a vengeance. Tonight, Salesforce, the leading software as a service company in the world that's integral to the cloud, showed you exactly why that's been happening. Salesforce just reported a 1-cent earnings beat off a 34-cent basis, but much higher than expected revenue, up 24% year over year. Even better, management gave spectacular guidance for both the next quarter and the full year. And I've got to tell you, it was well ahead of what any firm on Wall Street was looking for by a magnitude. Now, earlier today, I got a chance to check in with Mark Benioff. He's the visionary co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Salesforce from its new New York headquarters. So take a look. Mark, I expected a good quarter. This is actually a blowout, and that I usually don't get from a company your size. How did it happen?
Well, first of all, Jim, I want to welcome you to the all-new Salesforce Tower, New York City. Here we are in our biggest market in the world, New York. And we're thrilled to have the New York Tower here in Bryant Park. It's very exciting.
And you can celebrate with these numbers,
I'm
obviously.
celebrating with the numbers.
I'm looking at 48% unbilled deferred revenue. I mean, these are what I expect from a small company. Obviously, you've blown right through.
It was a blowout quarter, Jim. You can see the numbers are.
When was the last time you had this magnitude?
Years ago.
And how quickly now are you on your goal toward $20 billion, which we thought was fanciful?
Well, I mean, let's celebrate first the present moment, which is that we just blew through the $10 billion number faster, not just faster than any other cloud company, but faster than any other software company in history.
These are numbers I do expect from a company of $1 billion in sales.
And I think that because of this incredible quarter, you're going to see us really have a huge dream of getting to $20 billion faster than any other software company ever.
20. I think do it. Look, sometimes there is a magnitude that does take your breath away. You're in New York. It's new, it's big, but I see Europe. I see European footprints all over these numbers.
Europe is huge for us, and you can see that in some of these spectacular customers that we're signing in Europe. Of course, you know the Adidas story.
Right.
If you've been to Adidas.com and bought your Yeezy 350s, you know that it's all Salesforce. If you're on Adidas.com, it's Salesforce. If you get an email from Adidas, it's Salesforce. If you go into an Adidas store and talk to a sales rep in person, that's Salesforce. And we're building a single view of the customer for Adidas.
Now,
and that's giving them the ability to sell and connect with their customer in a whole new way.
The banks in Europe are catching up. I understand BBVA, which is a brilliant bank, has adopted yours. Why? Differentiation, customer?
Well, you know our financial services cloud, which is a product built specifically for the banking industry and has been so successful here in the United States with great customers like Bank of America and Wells Fargo and others. Well, now you can see the European banks, including BBVA, even Deutsche Bank, doing amazing things with our financial services cloud, so that's been exciting. But it's not just banking, Jim. Also, I'm thrilled with some of the other European industrial companies. And look at Siemens. You know, we're their new CRM standard. And look at this incredible success we've had with ABB. I love ABB. I don't know if you've seen the robots, the incredible fast charging systems that they have with buses, electric buses. But, you know, all of these companies are trying to focus on and connect with their customers. And the robot example is a great example where, you know, when ABB used to ship their robots, well, they shipped the robots. And they ended up in the factories. They weren't connected. Now, of course, they're connected with the robots. They know if the robot is going to fail.
Through this fellow over here, Einstein?
Well, Einstein is a huge part of that story because it's able to determine for ABB, hey, this robot is getting ready to fail. Roll your service check, send that service technician, and make sure that that robot gets fixed. And ABB can do that with Salesforce.
But let's back up for a second. There's must be a lot of $1 million contracts that are
more than ever.
Magnitude again?
More than ever.
All right. Fair enough. Some customers this morning, Lowe's reported, looks like they're losing share, contractor share, which is the big ticket to Home Depot. We've talked about Home Depot. In touch with customer contractor, where the money's made you.
Well, Craig is doing an amazing job as CEO, right? That's number one. But also, what I love about Home Depot is they are really focused on their customer.
Right.
And we've really been there with them. It's a partnership in the transformation. And they know who their customer is, which is not just the consumer, which is, of course, I'm a huge Home Depot consumer myself, but also a contractor. I'm not a contractor. Maybe I should be, but with all the huge home growth going on. But this idea that all these contractors are out there, well, they're more connected to the consumer, the contractor, and they've brought the employee in as well to have an advisory relationship with these two key stakeholders in their business. wow, it's been an accelerant for them, and you can see same-store sales across the board. Everything with Home Depot is amazing. I mean, I can't believe their numbers.
Invisalign, new customer, obviously the selfie generation. I thought they knew who their customer was. Maybe they too have to be more digitized.
I love Invisalign. I'm thinking about getting braces myself just because of this deal.
Right. Well, you're on your own. I'm not there. Now, I got to talk about some social responsibility, not just 111, which you pioneered, but you've been vocal of late talking about the need to be careful, for technology to be careful, both because of the fourth industrial revolution, a term that you pioneered, but also because of a consciousness that you've got to recognize that you have responsibility. That Facebook is not just a Greyhound bus that carries everybody. That these companies better start waking up to the idea that they play a role, or the government is going to play that role for them.
Well, I think you're 100% right. You can see that as technology advances. And the advancements in technology, it's not just in customer relationship management, which we've been talking about, but artificial intelligence as well.
Right.
Now, that impacts our customers, but that impacts the whole industry. And it's going to take a strong hand, and that is the CEOs and these companies have to take responsibility for the technology that they're building and look at. Is it addictive? Is this technology helping their customers or hurting their customers? Are they being manipulated? This is something that every company and every CEO is going to have to do. And as we build these great platforms, and as every company goes through their digital transformation, well, when that digital transformation happens, guess what? You better be paying attention to how this is all coming together.
Okay, so the customer matters, but if you're trying to get great gross margins, which Facebook must maintain, is the customer sacrificed, or are they finally recognizing it? I don't mean to pick on Facebook, they're fine now, but Twitter, we can talk about. Do they recognize that if the customer is the person that matters and that the product's faith and truth matters, that they may have a failed business model, even though the fastest growers in the world, other than your company?
Every CEO has to decide if they're going to lead with values. And what are those values?
But
What is your most
margins,
important value?
don't they?
I think their trust is our highest value at Salesforce. And so when I'm thinking about my leadership as a CEO, if trust is not my highest value, especially under the guise of all this amazing new technology and all the changes that it's bringing my customers or my consumers, then how am I leading? And everybody has to ask that question. What is the most important thing to you? Look, if everything is important, Jim, nothing is important. You know I believe that so strongly. What is the most important thing to you as a CEO? And for us at Salesforce, it's trust. And for companies who aren't leading with trust, I think that they're going to pay a terrible price. And you can see that. We have great examples, actually. If we were back in San Francisco, we could roll down the street and you'll see companies where CEOs are not there anymore. Great companies. Because they weren't leading with trust.
You talked about Uber with the idea of fastest growth, which look, I want your growth, okay? To recommend your stock, I want growth. But it needs to be sustainable growth. We talked about Paul Pullman at Unilever, sustainable growth. These are people who get that if they're going to win in this world, the growth sustainability comes from truth of product. Is that because there's some sort of new transparency, the smarter people, younger people? Why?
There's three things that you need for sustainable growth. Number one is customer focus. We've talked about that. The second key thing that you need for sustainable growth is a connection to who is your community? Who are all your key stakeholders is another way to say it. Of course, it's your shareholders, it's your customers, your partners, but it's also your public schools. We've talked about that. Who's your community? And finally, what's your culture? What are your values? What is it like to be in your company? What does it feel like to be in your office or at your events? And if you can put those three things together, culture, community, and customers, I think you can have a winning success today.
Would you be willing to lose some customers that you think don't fit your ethos?
Every CEO goes through that question. I think every CEO will say at some point they have to decide, are they going to fire their top sales executive because they didn't match their values in the field or something did not happen? I know I've gone through that. I had to fire our top sales executive at a time in our history, so quite a few years ago now. And that's a tough decision. It's a lot of sleepless nights. But you know what? It's a defining decision for every CEO when they can say, this is what we stand for. We stand for these values, not quarter-to-quarter revenue. That's great. But look at Salesforce. We've been public since 2014. And, we've done, 50 earnings calls. But our values don't change. Our numbers are changing.
Okay, but we have been among executives who have questioned the notion that values necessarily lead to higher stock prices. When I listen to you, I think that values are perhaps the determinant of higher stock prices.
I could not agree more. That is the number one thing. If you want to have a great company...
But it's ethereal. It's not what we've been taught.
Look, you have to decide, what are you really focused on? Are you focused just on your shareholders, or are you focused on your stakeholders? Your stakeholders are, yes, your shareholders, but also your customers, your employees, your partners, your communities that you're in.
Is that how you grow north of 40%?
We had a great quarter, Jim. Look at that on and off balance sheet.
I'm calling
Deferred revenue now more than $20 billion grew at more than 40%.
I'm calling
that
it
was
best,
beyond
best
our
in 8 years. Best in 8 years.
That's
my view.
It was our best quarter we've had in a long time. It's an amazing quarter. And you know what, Jim? We couldn't be happier. And we just got Fortune magazine's #1 best place to work 2018. And I think that says it all.
Why we pay up for good revenues and good earnings. Mark Benioff, founder, chairman, and CEO, Salesforce.com.
Jim, welcome to Salesforce Tower, New York City.
Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.